Hi, I'm Eli. I played Roman the Fae, and it's good to be here.
Hi, I am Jordan. I played Nox, who I have now since retired, and it is good to be here.
Hi, I'm Jory. I played Kitty, and it's good to be here. She was an oracle. And the Aware.
Hi, I'm Jillian. I played Susan the Hunter. It is good to be here.
I'm Jesse. I was a lot of them, and now I'm not. And hi, it's good. Hi. Welcome to our debrief of Lakeshore, where we'll talk about our character moments, scenes, go behind those scenes, have some sneak peeks, and just kind of reflect and recount on the campaign that we just completed.
I thought the first thing that we could do was just think back to where your character was in episode 1, and then how they were at the end of the finale.
I think you should go first.
Okay, I can do that. Okay, in episode 1, Susan is just hunting demons in the park with Joan and Nancy. And she's just like shooting imps and going over all the data of like the increased demonic activity, which is so annoying. And the ladies have finally put together their like report. And I think that's like a very good introduction to Susan and the Lakeshore Society. No, that's not what it's called. And the Naturalist Society, right? It's this like very team effort. She's got this bunch of ladies doing like research for her and sort of coming along as backup, even though they're not like very good at weapons or anything. And Nancy is giving away their position or whatever from being too enthusiastic.
Yeah, I think Susan really starts in like a very competent, like comfortable leader place, and then a lot of challenges are thrown at her that like really shake up how her sense of like control changes over the course of the campaign.
Yeah, I think control is a good word. And I think that's like a theme I was playing with for sure, especially with her dabbling in like drug dealing, because that's what slipped out of control first and took the whole thing off course. And then she started like neglecting her people and stuff and kind of went rogue, Dark Susan Batman. Yeah, the end is so good because it's like Susan starts off with like 2 guns and a knife that she never pulls, and then ends with no guns. Just with no guns in the top of the tower in front of the mayor, and is like, well, my power is everywhere. Get fucked. And then in like the super finale epilogue, she gives away her gun. And then she doesn't have guns anymore. She just gives control over to Joan so that she can go do new adventures.
She, in some ways, like manages to like exert control, and even if that's just from like guiding her team to like help her out.
Yeah, because it was about, I guess, like empowering other communities of people, or just like empowering other people, delegating the work. I love delegating the work to other groups, and right, like setting the wolves on the radios and getting Nancy and Jim to fuck it up at the radio tower.
Yeah, I would say you probably rolled Hit the Streets the most. I would say that Susan was the character that was most interested in like finding other people, connecting to other people, and like getting resources together for sure.
Which is like so opposite of like the mayor and everything she wanted. She was like, I would like to have all of the control myself. Like, I trust no one. Like, I will do the good for the city, me, by myself, by superpowering my being with crystal magics. And that's why it wasn't going to work. Because it's about the power of friendship and community, baby. Collective action.
She would have gotten away with it if it weren't for you meddling kids.
Yeah. It's
And
always
your little
kids.
dog.
It's always kids. Yeah.
Hotch. It's also funny that you talk about the drug thing being like the most inciting incident, because that was not something that I had like any plan or inkling for at the top of the campaign whatsoever. Jillian came to me when we were doing character creation and was like, and I also think Susan's like a drug dealer, and like that's how she like picks up money. She's like a courier of like whatever people need carried. But I think when Jillian brought up this drug thing, then like Eli got really into it too, and it was like a lot of like hype about it. Like it seemed like it's something you guys were all like really fun into, and like you made the emphasis of your character's scenes for the first 2 or 3 episodes. So I quickly was like, okay, this needs to be like a much bigger plot point, because they all want it to be a much bigger plot point.
Mm-hmm.
On the Nox side of the campaign, I think that there was a lot of growth for him, especially, I mean, we opened the whole campaign, I believe, with him at the bar.
On his birthday.
And very kind of, at the time, like a day-to-day, kind of lost individual. And then really the big arc was, you know, even though like he kind of lost his friends, but at the same time was finally honest with them, and also was very oftentimes deceiving of the party itself, and obviously eventually meeting Hazel, who was at the start. He kind of, while still being demonized, came out of his shell. He confronted his father. He kind of reconciled just about everything before then having it kind of, well, parts of it wash away in towards the finale when he loses his demon hood, and having that kind of go away. And then, as I mentioned when we were playing it, be replaced a little bit with having to face morality again in a way that he hadn't had to in a long while, which when it was a rush was very difficult to handle. But when we kind of fade to black at the end and come back to the bar at the end of the campaign, you can see that he's kind of in stark contrast found his place. You know, has the band's more complete. He's excelling more at the thing that he wanted to, and is just in general a largely changed person. I also thought too, when I was saying that, maybe I'm going to lose this. It was something else about Susan. Oh, your demon hatred, because that was a big thing as to why, you know, obviously I was like, oh, don't tell her, because I am the thing. I am that. I am a demon.
Classic Odd Couple.
And well, it felt like that Susan came not around per se, but was a bit more taking it case by case, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and from the beginning, as much as that was like a very defining characteristic of Susan, that she hated demons, it wasn't something that she understood very well in terms of them having like human minions or like having control of other creatures in that way. So the idea of the tainted is like a new concept for her. And I was also pretty, I think, transparent with the group that like Susan's mind could be changed. Like people just had to like talk to her and like tell her what was going on, because as much as she wasn't like particularly warm, I would probably describe her as like collaborative.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like as much as when you ultimately found out Nox was a demon, I think Susan was as much upset as having been deceived than about working with a demon. Like, I think that deception was the most like tense point of it. And I think that really, for me, defines Nox's journey of like honesty and like maybe opening up to vulnerability. It's kind of, you know, poignant because he literally has the ability to like put on a shell, like an exoskeleton, to prevent him from taking damage. And part of what he needs to do over the course of the campaign, what he decides to do, is like voluntarily strip away that shell, you know, both physically and emotionally. But where I do specifically want to zero in on that point, because I think that's like pretty clear in the text of the show, is where that interacts with Kitty as a character. Because I think that Nox and Kitty had a really, like, Nox butted heads with everybody because we have Jordan on our show. But I think the Nox and Kitty dynamic was really interesting because it had like a really weird specific angle to it where Kitty was having visions of him, and she will kind of butted into his life in like a really crazy night at the hardware. And, you know, it ultimately ended up with like him, you know, flying across like the province to go get her when he needed her. And like those two being side by side when Nox confronted Rex finally. And I really think that the way that is shaped is so interesting. I want to hear both of you kind of speak on that.
Well, for me, it was that you like forced the interaction because you kept walking up and being like, "Hey, buddy, I just you know like this is gonna happen to you," and I'm like, "Okay, shut up, I don't even know you." And then like it would happen, and I'd be like, "Oh shit, it happened," and then I'd be like, "Oh, whatever, maybe that was a fluke," and then you'd be like tugging again at my fucking shirt and be like, "Hey, buddy, hey, this thing's gonna happen," and I'm like, "Okay, maybe there's something going on here."
There's a point like early on where I think you were pushed like to be, because you were so harsh towards Susan and Roman, and you were a little less harsh towards Kitty, where you said like, oh well, she like seems to care, which is very much Kitty's MO, is like some level of like, oh, I just want everything to be okay, like let's just like, she wants to like paint everything over and have it all look good. And if that means confronting the stranger to make sure a building doesn't burn down, she's gonna do it. I really liked that too. I liked that that like that ended with the two separate scenes, like parallel scenes of the up the spire and then us in the Drake Casino Pavilion, and the way those storylines kind of intersected. It also was a good binding agent for the group, like to make sure that I was able to like, I had the least connection with Susan, which I don't know. We had a good heist in the casino, but
we'll always have the casino.
Yeah, that's kind of like a big part of, I think, Kitty's role was like, I had like an inherent connection to Roman that like didn't really have to work to, because it was like very much like this sister storyline was very like organic and like kept us wanting to be together. And then the general like being the Oracle was a good device to keep me being like, hey, like I care about this because I know about it. And that was kind of the only reason besides Roman to have me being in the group. I don't know, I really liked that playbook. I thought the Oracle was really fun.
The way the sheet is designed is maybe like pushing you in a very like paranoid or kind of like mentally fragile position. And I don't think you were particularly interested in that from the beginning.
Definitely
so I really like the
was
angle
less
you took.
interested in like the character the game wanted the Oracle to be than like thinking of like, oh well, like what kind of tropes can I play with in like our noir setting, and in like I didn't want to be like a fortune teller kind of figure, you know. I wanted to think about like the genre and play with that more.
Yeah, I mean, we were always playing, like, we were taking Urban Shadows and then being like, how can we tell a very cool story with it? And I loved Kitty's archetype of that, like, society woman, especially because when we were first doing character creation, again, I sketched out very, very rough blurbs about each neighborhood being like Fairside or downtown or like the Wolves of the Docks. And I was like, tell me like what you want. What do you want to happen here? And 3 of you were like, oh, Fairside. Oh, these like bohemian fairies and demons and this and that. And I was like, okay, so maybe the story is going to be like mostly about this. But then Kitty was like, Jory was like, I also want to be this like society lady, you know, kind of wealthy, powerful, and it's not that vibe at all. So it was, it gave me like, there's lots of tension there, and there's also like, I can put effort into like trying to bring you together. So I was like, it's cool if she is having these visions of demons, specific demons that she has never had before, that she can't place, this like mental kind of block. You know, Kitty and Roman being so powerful as magic users, in the same way that like your team, Jillian, alerts you to the presence of heightened demon activity. Kitty, you know, I think in some level just innately, like, her perception of magic changes when these changes are happening, and she starts seeing visions that she didn't see before. And I love that as a way to like throw these characters together. Yeah, and I think it'd be cool to talk about, we talked about Kitty and Nox's dynamic, but of course we can't neglect Kitty and Roman. Sister Act.
I do think you, Eli, pushed more the Roman and Kitty relationship. Like, I think there was a lot more you reaching and Kitty being like, oh, well, I have all these things on my mind. Like, I felt that a few times where I was like, well, there's Philip, and you were like, no, I want to, like, mend this bridge. I don't know if you thought that as well, but that's kind of, and I don't think it was Kitty, like, not caring about Roman, but I was thinking it was Roman feeling more obligation to like mend that relationship, maybe.
You did move into her house.
I did move into her house, but I moved into her house.
There's like,
but I don't want to.
But I just mean like after that point, like it was like Roman took on so much responsibility to help Kitty get back her powers, and from I guess that point on is probably what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. I mean, to me, in the place of Roman, it made sense because I don't know how much we touched on this, but like, you know, Roman was the one who got angry and upset with the power faction and the place that they were in life. And Kitty kind of stayed and maintained the status quo of their family, and Roman is the one who left. So it does kind of feel on Roman to reach out if she misses her sister, and additionally, like, Kitty cares about a lot of people. Kitty's got a lot of shit to do and a lot of people to take care of, and I think Roman, like, especially because her story the whole time was about belonging and finding something to care about and finding somebody to care about her, like, it was very like, well, this is my sister and we were close ones, kind of seems like, and she's protecting everybody, and it doesn't really feel like anybody's protecting her the right way in Roman's mind. That felt like the obvious latch.
Yeah, there's a lot of like ping-ponging back and forth of like, who is the caretaker here? Mm-hmm. And I think it, you know, it kind of starts off with a very like Kitty coming into Fairside and being like, damn bitch, you live like this.
I got shot.
Yeah, but she's also like, oh, your house is awful. Like, what are you doing here? Why are you living like this? You could be, you know, in society with me. And then it comes down to Kitty gets shot, but then also just as quickly as that, Roman is turned into a bird dog. Roman is attacked by demons that Kitty also released, so Kitty wants to heal Roman, but then Kitty loses her powers and Roman wants to take the lead. Like, it's so flip-flop back and forth. Mm-hmm. And I think there's almost like an edge of like, both of you feel like the other sister is like the one that needs your help, but you both need each other so badly.
Yeah, that's true.
And through that arc, there's like going from being so distanced and being like, I haven't seen you in years, to we live together, we live apart. Like, there's so much ebb and flow that's really interesting in Kitty and Roman.
It does literally, like, I think one of our very first conversations is basically an argument about who's supposed to be taking care of who.
Yeah, I do really like the way that it evolves. It starts off as like, I'm the older sister, I know what's gonna happen, I take care of you, and like, well, you don't know how to do anything. Like, I don't, like, Roman doesn't.
You haven't seen like the real world.
The real world is the way that Roman's.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I think they kind of reach this like more level equilibrium of like, well, we are two independent people who can take care of each other, or take care of ourselves, and also
Yeah.
lean on each other sometimes.
Like a lot more equal partnership.
Yeah, I think that desire to like see each other as equals was pretty like a common thread for the four of us. Right, because despite everybody's very different relationship to power and like where it comes from, especially for them, I think we all tried to like find that kind of like peer quality among us.
Yeah, there were lots of moments of acknowledging that you are like relying on another PC for something. We are relying on Nox's like strength. We're relying on Susan's like planning. We're relying on Roman and Kitty's magic. And even the like major NPCs can like offer things for you, but also have their own vulnerabilities that will cause that can create risk for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like, I mean, a little bit for Roman, and maybe not at all for Kitty, but like, especially I felt for Nox and Susan. There was definitely a hurdle you had to get over of asking people for help, which was interesting to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of doing things begrudgingly. I think that's just kind of like a selfish, like, I've done the research on demons, like, I'm an expert. Why can't I do this myself?
Mm-hmm.
And that's because, like, a giant rift was open in the park. Like, it was not sustainable. Yeah, like, despite the fact that Susan has a team, like, they're not on her level and they're not her equals. Right? Jesse used a lot of, like, army language to describe those relationships. Which is, like, fair, uncomfortable, for sure.
But your character was in an uncomfortable position.
It was an uncomfortable, yeah, it was uncomfortable. Which, I mean, it's good. It's like, I don't disagree. Right, even this scene where Susan and Joan are talking in the hospital, and right, like Joan basically just absolves Susan of like whatever because she doesn't really see what's wrong with it, even though right there was a lot of contributing factors there. Right, sure, like the demon made the hit, but there was so much else going on there. And I don't think Susan would have put the three of you in that position.
Perceive Joan differently. I was really happy with that scene. I think it really like so finely sketched in how much you, Susan, like don't want this person to be like a martyr for your cause, but they did and you benefited greatly from it. And so there's like relief in there and there's gratitude and there's like fear and revulsion. And it was very like it was really great to see that kind of like miasma of complicated feelings in that scene where Joan is she's in a lot of pain and she's like really concerned about the future, but she also thinks it's important that you feel as empowered as you can because she really believes that you are the person who's going to save the city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was very good.
Good shit.
Yeah, I didn't know how that was going to go, so which I think is fair because I live in my own head. But I'm really glad with how that turned out.
I have a question for Jesse, if I may. Just because we did this last time when everybody got to talk about our PCs and then Jesse just like sat there. Jesse, tell us about your favorite character, either a player character or an NPC.
I mean, of the clearly because you guys kind of ended up as like a final party of 6. Philip and Hazel are very dear in my heart. Philip, I think I love because Jory, you know, gave me her. She's the very like here's my handwritten backstory type, and I'm like scanning through it, and there's this husband, and it's like we want this storyline of like, is she restricted by the husband? Yeah, maybe the husband's like not a great guy, and I'm like, well, I think that's fair, and we can do that storyline, but I'm not going to make this husband like a very flat, like ridiculous monster. I want to see like where he's at. And so he became this very like misguided, like white knight who just like wants to like save his wife and his family, but is so bad at it. And it's like kind of funny, but it's also kind of pathetic, but it's also kind of like sympathetic. And it's in some ways like very like grimy to be Philip. and to be like, man, this dude like doesn't get it, and I have to vocalize him just not getting it, refusing to understand and like get to a place where he can like do it. But it's like, also I think it's a more interesting challenge for like Kitty, because she can't be like, I hate my husband who like is awful to me. She's like, I have to deal with my husband who I do love and who I know loves me and who has problems communicating and problems like setting boundaries. And that's like so much more a real obstacle to play with. And so that makes the scene so much more fun. Hazel, I think I love Hazel a lot. I think I love Hazel more. There were like parts of Hazel in my brain that I loved more than parts of Hazel that made it out, just because I think she only ended up really getting involved by the time things were like really ramping up and there wasn't a ton of time to like really delve into her. Like Philip has been around since episode 1 or 2 or whatever. But I love where she becomes a bit more of like the bleeding heart of the group, of a group that's like very, you're all so fucking emotionally repressed. And Hazel is a person who's willing to be like, thank you, you saved me, I love you, I'll help you, let's do this. Which like I think the group didn't really have very much. So I liked her doing that. I just wish there had been more time to establish her also as like the Bond girl pianist who like has a gun in her thigh holster, who's like sneaking around the back. We got a little bit of that in the Drake Casino arc. But I would have loved to. Hazel's gonna get her own like backstory side series where she does like cool demon adventures in the past. So that's the any other like are there any like random one-sceners that were good?
I mean, I loved Ileana.
I loved Ileana. I found her very challenging because there were so many neighborhoods in Lakeshore, there were so many factions, and there was so much going on, and you guys were already like overwhelmed with how much like mystery and clues and scenes and things there were, that I was like, Ileana's a really great character concept. She's this like witchy, sexual, sensual, strange fae woman, but she doesn't have like the most burning motivations of, say, Arthur Cho, of the mayor, of Rex Lemaire, of everyone else, of demons. And so it was like, I kind of felt like I was constantly giving her like fun scenes where she got to be like mysterious and sensual. But she ultimately only wanted to be like queen of the park. And anything outside of that was like not her concern. So it felt a little bit anticlimactic for her to be like, well, fucking off now. But it was also, I think... I think that's where that character was at, and I think to make her like a third like villain or something would just be like so much. But she was very fun to do, and I loved how she like always put, I think she like put everyone, she engaged you, but she also like put you off a little bit and kind of kept you off kilter and off your balance as she like stroked all your hands and played with your hair and like whispered to you.
Yeah. You set it up that the ritual was supposed to happen in episode 1.
Yeah.
Like, could that have succeeded and she just wouldn't have been in the story?
That wasn't her leaving ritual.
Oh.
No. Ileana was hoping to manifest. She also, as she says to Roman in episode 1, had noticed the increased magical energy, and she didn't know that it had anything to do with the mayor or crystals or anything like that. She's just like, she's not interested in that. She's just not interested in anything besides like, I'm the queen of Fairside. I control these little like poets and painters and slutty fairies and whatever. So this was like, for her, felt like a super moon or whatever. And she was like, I'm going to bathe in the blood of a mortal and maybe like jack up my powers, maybe expand my territory a little bit. But the ritual went wrong. Then, you know, even if she was going to try to recover that, I was thinking about maybe episode 4 or 5, she tries the ritual again. Then her like headquarters burns down. And so at that point I was like, well, she could come back raring for revenge and blame like Nox and blame Kitty and put Roman in a lot of hot water. But then there's already stuff going on with like, we're going to visit the wolves, we're going to track down these drugs, and there's just so many things. And then she sort of, I think, kind of had to slink back to the back burner, and sort of like give Roman like, you know, lip, but also like flirt with her, but also be really weird and turn into a bird. So I think she just for like narrative purposes had to be a little more relaxed, but I would have loved to see her really go off the handle and to put Roman in a tougher spot in her role as like a member of Ileana's court.
I was so ready. I was like, Jesse's gonna, I don't know what he's up to, but he's gonna stress me out so much.
Well,
I was waiting.
truthfully,
for it.
I thought you were really gonna decide to go after Ileana when she literally stole your sister's magic powers, and I was like, this could be it, where Roman like cuts ties and like decides to put out a hit or whatever. But then you were sort of like, can I have the powers back?
Yeah. I struggled a lot with that relationship because, like, it always felt like it starts with Roman being like, Ileana is a god. Like, she will teach me everything if I just stick to her. Like, she's so unreachable and so untouchable. And then I sort of started moving towards this, like, oh, like, maybe one day I could be Ileana. Like, maybe she's actually not that far off as I thought. But it felt like she just got so close to that point.
Yeah, well, I think that also speaks to what we've talked about a lot, Eli, like as we've been working on the campaign, like Roman as a character who is trying to figure out where she belongs in this world and how she can like walk in the court of Ileana, but also in like this demon hunting gang, but also in like Susan's drug network, but also in like Jim's store, and how that like, that was, I mean, for me, it was really exciting because it felt like there were so many things I could do for you, but I also felt like I was constantly like pestering you and being like, what do you want Roman to do next? Like, where do you think Roman goes next? Like, what do you want? What do you want the shape of this to be?
I'm not going to say it's entirely intentional the way that it panned out, and maybe it was a little bit due to my indecision, but like, when we started the campaign, I was like, oh, Roman's story is about like climbing and clawing your way in this court, and like I'm gonna leave in an explosive way, or I'm gonna like come back and coup Ileana, like some shit's gonna happen in this park. And then it kind of ended up being like not quite so dramatic, but maybe more poignant, of like, well, sometimes you don't have this like explosive thing, and like you do just like fizzle out and realize this place is not for you. And like, I can't remember if I said this in a recording, but like Roman's story very much ended up being like, I didn't find necessarily more of a place to belong, but I have like people I belong with, and I feel comfortable in not defining those spaces and relationships and putting words to things. So I guess in a way it ended up being like maybe less of an audio drama, but more true to Roman.
It was really good.
Yeah, I think that for me that feels really captured in the scene where you say goodbye to Ileana, and I think you use like the past tense to say like, I loved you, and kind of let her know that that's like not where you are anymore. And then there's the other scene in 20, I think, before the fair. I hope this makes it into the final cut, as people know what I'm talking about. You go to see the rest of your like Fae cohort to get the peppermints, and it's just like you guys are having fun, like fucking playing around, like running fair side, being like little Fae queens and kings, and that's like, I'm not even that anymore, and I don't even mind that you like might take a dig at me or whatever. And so I like that. I think it maybe more than you realize, like really showed Roman as this character who is like grown and maybe decided that she doesn't need like, I think with Ileana gone, there's like a pressure off of you. And that's also interesting because like that pressure is coming when there's pressure from Kitty coming to be like a sister, and when there's pressure from other people asking so much of you, asking you to heal them, asking you to accompany them. So Roman's a character who has like a lot of external forces like pushing her in different directions. And I think the end is very Roman. I mean, having like an indie movie head shaving scene and then just doing her.
Sorry, I needed it. I
like it.
Good. Yeah, I think there's that. It felt so interesting because, like, even in scenes with Ileana, like out of character, she made me feel like pressure. I felt like intimidated by the idea. Me, Eli, felt intimidated by Ileana, and was like, I don't know how to play this scene. Like, she's not even real, and she's like controlling me. And it's so interesting. Like, as soon as we went to this new like next theoretical Fae leader, I just felt like it was so removed from the person that I am now that they don't They might be like as powerful, more powerful than Ileana, I don't know, but I didn't feel that because there was no connection anymore.
Even physically, you've traveled to so many other parts of the city and seen so much more of Lakeshore than the very like limited, like Fairside is very much a deliberately inclusive, like, what's the word?
Closed ecosystem.
It's like it's like people who live in Fairside and hang out in Fairside and do the little cafe thing and do the little music thing and do the little magic thing. And by 1920, Roman has like actually like raised the stakes and like made big moves in the whole rest of the city. And it's like this playground is like, I've outgrown it.
Yeah.
Okay. Did y'all have any theories about what was happening during the campaign? I thought the mayor was like gonna summon like, I thought it was more demonic than anything else.
Yeah, demons and drugs were like more how you guys came to it. And also demons is very like Rex.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Part of me kind of wishes that you had entertained her a little bit more in the Spire so she could have like told you more about herself, but you were like, I fucking don't care, I hate you. And I was like, that's fair. But there was never an opportunity to like learn more about her and what she wanted besides that scene, because she was very off screen. You know, I think parts of it made it onto the air, but Jory was like pitching a city hall heist for a long time, to the point where I like wrote full like notes and scene descriptions and like what you would have found there, and like there would have been like probably a mayor encounter, even if you had gone like the middle of the night. Probably this campaign had so many more like directions it could have taken.
Kitty had to go on vacation.
Then Kitty, I do like that. I think the Kitty vacation arc was great though.
Oh, it was, but that's what happened instead.
Yeah, definitely couldn't have done both.
Yeah, and I think when you're playing like Urban Shadows, which is so city focused, you should explore the city. You should like go to all these places because they're important and they all exist like within the tangled web of power and relationships, which is why I made the postcards as like our new episode advertisements.
It did feel like every time we went somewhere new, like the Breath of the Wild mini-map noise would play in my head of like discovering a new area.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
What was your favorite like non-headquartersy location that we visited? There were actually like a lot.
Non-headquarters.
Non like Roman's house.
The Last Hurrah is definitely my favorite location. Thought it was delightful. I like was so excited every single time Roman was like, I'm going to. We cut one of the scenes entirely out, but both scenes where Roman was like, I'm going to talk to this dog man and figure out how to get in. It was just that was my favorite location.
I like the park.
Fairmont Park?
Yeah, in its entirety, in seemingly every little corner, there's another faction. You just walk like 100 meters that way, and there's like Fey people, and then 100 meters that way, and there's ladies with guns, and it's all over the place.
I really loved. You could tell how much I loved it. The like, let's go sneak into Kitty's apartment scene. I actually was like, because that's so like, oh, the door's like ajar, like it's dark, what's happening? That shit really tickles my fancy. And like Roman's house had so much character to it, and we spent so much time there. And Susan, we didn't spend a lot of time with the sings. We spent a lot of time out like that. Like sense of place was so much more. The places in Lakeshore were like urban places, and the kinds of places we're more familiar with. Like I was pulling from like the stock fantasy cauldron for like, this is a manor house and this is a castle and this is this. But it's like, this is a apartment of a cafe, and it's like, I live in I can tell you about that. I can tell you what it's like to be in like this Toronto adjacent like nature center, or like a big dilapidated tenement house that like might have been student housing or boarding housing. Like I've been there and lived in those places, and it was nice to like fill in all those colorful details, like a roommate that won't stop practicing their music, stuff like that.
Vampire sax man. My greatest accomplishment was deleting his sax.
Yeah.
Oh, I do have a question. Was it the roll that was magical or the camera?
And so I was really interested if it was going to run out during the finale or not, and then it ended up not. And I had like a few different options for what would have happened after. So I was thinking about this thing where like once you took the final roll, the final shot on the roll of film, you would need to take it out and develop it immediately. And if you didn't, they would start like the pictures, the objects that you transported would start like emerging back out of the camera in like monstrous forms, like a weird saxophone monster or like a giant door or something. I don't know what the door would have done. But I was thinking about like this untested weird magic film that Jim Stevens might have given you as like a last ditch effort and like maybe didn't warn you about all of the dangers of. I thought that was interesting.
I was so ready to take a picture of the mayor.
yeah.
I never got to meet the mayor, so she'll never climb out of my camera.
I am curious about what people enjoyed the most about this particular game, about Urban Shadows.
Like as a system.
Yeah.
I really love the, like, oh, when you take enough harm, instead of dying, you can just be, like, shattered. And that can just, like, change your like, the way that, like, physical trauma can change your character's heart, mind, soul, whatever. I love that. That was so great. And only one of us got to use it, but it was very good. So.
I like that it had the mixed successes built in the whole way through. Things like getting like a 7 or whatever means like you can achieve your task, but also you have to like choose from this list of bad things that happen. I think it makes it so that where with like other games, like D&D, you can have interactions be a little bit, can get a bit stale sometimes just because there isn't those the give and take of a scene. It feels like you can like, for example, threaten someone and it's either a pass or fail. I like that it always comes with mixed successes, and then furthermore the favor system is also quite interesting.
Debts.
It's what?
The debt system?
Debts, yes. I felt like I used it a lot early on, and then, I don't know, I felt like we didn't really fully utilize it later on either, which was somewhat unfortunate, but also just kind of the way that it developed. We needed less, I guess, debts later on, too. We were kind of like all in the same party.
Yeah, I'll cop to having a hard time with using debts for this particular campaign because it... you guys pulling debts on other characters is fine because you're like advancing your own story, but for other characters to put debts on you when you're playing like regular Urban Shadows is because you're playing this ongoing game, and it can be like a great way to introduce a new conflict. And this kind of ties into everything. The stuff with Ileana, the stuff with like traveling is like there's so much stuff going on, and I don't want you guys to lose focus on the mystery that you're trying to solve. That taking the time for Hotch to be like, I saved your life, Roman, time to like pay up and do this extra thing is just like, that's great. It's just like so sideways, so tangential that it feels like it's pulling away from the momentum of what is this mystery of Lakeshore. So in like a non-recorded Urban Shadows game, it'd be fine to take the time and like go somewhere else and do something else and like flesh out the world more. But I was like, man, we have to finish this, So that's why I feel like not that I couldn't, like I chose not to do more with debts in service of the story, but I would have loved to also play an Urban Shadow games that plays debts more the way they're intended to be played.
I think debts are a system that might work really well in like a smaller game where there are like only so many players and you keep recurringly running into them whether you like it or not. It's just there was so much like space and other people to go to that it's like, well, Hotch might have a debt on me, but he's across town and I haven't seen him in 5 episodes, so...
Yeah. Absolutely.
I guess what I liked was like the opportunity to be dark without it being too heavy. I think it was fun to make bad decisions. I don't think I was very precious about Susan in a way that I have been with other characters. So I wasn't really afraid to put her in a bad spot and figure a way out of that or let her get hurt. And the putting someone like in danger, which was always like constant in this game with very real stakes, was fun.
Yeah, it felt like the stakes were definitely higher than something like Talo, where we all kind of know how fantasy stories are like structured and go. And this was like, I don't know, I could fucking kill one of you. Try me.
Yeah.
See how far we go.
Yeah, I didn't know if I would survive this campaign.
I almost killed Philip.
Yeah. You did.
I don't think I mentioned this.
What?
Well, in the at the lake when Mickey came to confront him, because I didn't know Nox was gonna like teleport over there. I thought it would have been very interesting for Kitty to like be kind of, you know, finally betrayed by like her husband who's just trying to protect her, but he like has slipped up one too many times, and she like watches him.
I don't know if I would have been
whacked, as it were. I think could have been a very interesting like Kitty direction.
Well,
Nice.
she would have been
I wish I
sad.
didn't. I wish I didn't come.
Oh, I'm glad you came out. Know how I would have felt with that.
Yeah. Both to see what happens with you, and because I don't like Philip. So the two reasons.
Jory, did you get to answer what you like about Urban Shadows?
I didn't. I was gonna say, I think I really liked the corruption system. I liked, especially, not that Kitty took that much corruption, but like I like having that built into the game is how your character changes, and like in this case, it's like how your character becomes more corrupt. But I can see how it's also like how your character grows and learns, and in Kitty's case, that is kind of what it happened because she starts as like a very naive kind of character and then has to eventually become like a person who can shoot a gun. But in general, I think that's interesting to build in like the way the characters grow and change.
Are there any favorite moments that you want to revisit from this campaign?
Oh, that's easy. I loved Roman versus all the Romans.
Damn!
I thought that was a really good character. I thought it was really indicative to Roman's character. Like, I thought that like really made her arc very like solid. Like, oh, I am a person with all of these choices in front of me and I can't choose. Like, I thought that was really good way to do that. It was like an interesting like fantasy thing, not fantasy, but like dream sequence thing. And it felt very distinct from the rest of the campaign. I don't know. It was definitely like a highlight, I think, to just like sit and listen to as someone who's not in that scene.
I liked, and this is gonna sound bad, but I liked when I was gonna sauce Swiss cheese Eli's head. That was a good scene.
Eli made a very grumpy face.
It was a good scene.
Still making it. Yeah, it's still kind of going.
It was a good scene.
I have actually. I
Weren't you
have to
the
agree. Actually,
instigator, though?
I thought you were mortal.
Yeah,
Why
you
is
tried
that
to be
better?
all big. You tried to talk all that real good shit. Yeah, that's what happened. I feel like it was like the first episode, and it was like, here's how like here's what Lakeshore's like, guys. And it was like, she's like, all right, I'll do this, and like you're gonna owe me like a debt. And then I'm like, no, like I'm gonna do this, and you're gonna owe me
No,
a debt.
you owed me a debt when that ended.
Yes, because you weren't gonna tell or whatever.
Hey, it's just there was a misunderstanding and you weren't cool about it, okay?
Eli, what was yours?
I'm torn. I really liked Midge tearing into Nox just because Nox usually has something to say in response, but Midge was not letting him have it. She was just sit at the end of the bar. Like, it was good. Nancy tearing into Susan was also very good. It's just like, so. Not only is she so passive, but like when you're putting this in your mind's eye and she's got that like polyester pink cat sweater on and she's like, you fucking coward.
I do like the Midge scene too. I like characters who are willing to confront Jordan's characters, because I know Jordan's not afraid of confrontation and is like willing to like go for it, and like if his character has a problem with the scene, the character will express that problem. And so I like to give Jordan like feed him a mix of like characters that are like fully intimidated by him, characters that are like on par with him, and characters that are like furious at him, because he can like do all those interactions so funnily and so interestingly. Like when he went into the alley with like Max and Mickey and he was like, but I'm actually a demon, and they're like, we actually don't fucking care.
I love that. Like episode 4 kind of overall is
Whatever. I got back at it.
In hindsight, it was great that you were like, well, I'm a demon, now knowing that they're like, well, we boss your demon boss around all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so much of episode 4 was like so good. And just so it's such a perfect snapshot like of this game and of us playing this game right? I love Knox in the Alley. I love Kitty and Roman meeting, like reuniting after years on the stairs up to the catwalk
While
of this
Kitty's
bar.
high out of her mind.
Kitty's, on drugs. Roman has like smashed her drink. Oh, yeah.
Oh my god, I missed that. Okay, maybe that was my favorite. Oh.
Just so much beautiful, beautiful drama. Did anybody have any final thoughts?
I feel like we need some wrap up, but I don't know what that means. We need a debrief or debrief.
That's true.
I mean, later, like, I can write, like, a little, like, thank you so much for listening.
Let's just say that all together and, like, cut each other off and just sort of, like, improv through it.
Okay, go right now.
Thanks for, so that was our Lakeshore campaign debrief.
Thanks
I'm
for
gonna head over
listening.
to Jillian.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Thanks for listening.
I don't remember the rest.
And then what happens next is Jory's going to tell us what's up.
Some one-shots, and then eventually we're going to be playing a game of...
Lobster Hearts. Is that right?
No, it's called...
No, I thought you said we were playing Lobster Hearts.
Oh my
I bought
god, Lobster
giant
Hearts.
$300 foam claws.
That's
I
amazing.
still have the receipt. This game is called Monster Hearts.
Can I be a lobster in it?
Big meaty claws.
We can talk.
Big, meaty claws. Thank you.
Is that it?